The first house I ever grew up in, we didn't really have a backyard because we had like a back alley. Because here's the thing, there was the house, then there was like 8 feet of grass, and then a mountain, like the side of a mountain. So basically we had like 8 feet to play with back there, and that wasn't as much. But we did have a side yard that had a basketball goal, and keep in mind, we didn't have asphalt or anything like that. We instead bounced the ball on the dirt. And in order for my dad, in order to like make it like even, would go out there and would like tamp would flatten out the ground underneath the goal to like make it to where we could bounce it and it wouldn't go all over the place. And also, he would deliberately like keep grass from growing in that area. He'd like spray like a weed killer there to like keep it from growing. And I remembered about 2 years before we left that house, my dad built us a tree house, and it wasn't anything impressive, but I'll be damned if it wasn't, like, for me, it was the coolest thing on planet Earth, because it was made from old wood pieces from my dad's construction company that he was a part of. And it was like, we had this old half circle window. You know how that used to be a stylistic thing? You'd have like a half circle window, and then like a circle window, then another half circle window. They had an extra one, and that was the window that they put in there for us. And we would just like stare up and out and everything, and like see the neighbors' dogs like running throughout the yard and everything. We had a ladder that you could climb up, and you could climb up into the middle of it. And then we also had a ramp that you could walk up it from the rocks from the side, beside the thing. And the ramp was like about this steep. It was fairly steep. It was like about that steep. And I remembered my mom got worried that I was gonna fall, and she told my dad to put it on like a safety rope or something like that, to like where I could like catch myself. I never fell or anything like that, but my dad never put up the safety rope. I guess my dad just didn't care. He was just like, he built the thing, and we asked him to build it for us. We helped him as much as we could, but I'll never forget when it was done. Like, it was the coolest thing in the world. And then when I went back there, I think it was like 7 or 8 years after we'd left, the people who were living on that property tore it down. And it made me sad. It made me very sad.
I always wanted a tree house, but I never got one. So.
Well, the second house I lived at was more in town, but there was still like a good forested area. I remember that was where me and my friend Andrew had like some of the best memories, because we would go back there, we'd grab like our machetes, and we would just start like clearing out the forest and like making tunnels and making areas for us to hang out in and all that. God, that was so much fun. And I remembered one year he basically came back there, and I remember he was like showing off these knives and stuff that he had, and we got in like a knife throwing contest as like who could hit the bullseye and everything. And I remembered I did it. I hit the bullseye on like my 10th attempt, and I was like, yeah, woo! And then Andrew went up to it, and he never hit a bullseye, and he was always kind of mad about that. He was always kind of mad that he never hit a bullseye. But God, dude, I have so many memories back there. And then my parents got divorced. Then my mom had to sell that house because she couldn't afford it. And yeah, that whole experience was just, it was something. It was something. And then after that, I never was really around, like, I never really had places that had backyards again for a while. And by that point, I was already also getting into high school, and like exploring outside wasn't as interesting as it was when I was a kid. How about you? You got any backyard stories or anything like that?
Yeah, a ton, but I couldn't go through them all in any reasonable amount of time.
What's one or two that stick out to you?
With my next door neighbor Levi all the time. One of my friends from church, Kurt, his grandparents live 2 houses down, so he would come over sometimes and we play outside. We like to do pretend stuff a lot, and to be honest, like, even though I never was allowed to get into Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger, I was kind of already dungeon mastering games for people, because I had things like, for example, when the Lost World came out, I had this like poster with all of the dinosaurs that were in it, like in blocks with information about them and stuff.
Yeah.
So we would each pick like a dinosaur that we were supposed to be hunting and stuff, and pretend to go around hunting for dinosaurs.
Nice.
Stuff like that. I had rule systems I made up for those games to make them fun for everybody playing. I remember me and Levi did a Power Rangers thing one time with Sidewalk Chalk, where you'd have to close your eyes and be spun around and walk up the driveway, and it was like random battles. If you stepped on like a putty or like a Zordon or whatever, then the other one would like role play as them and come out and fight with you and stuff, and we'd have the Power Ranger weapons that we fought with and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Just a lot of goofy things like that.
Honestly, but that's some of the best stuff too.
We played Army a lot too. Like we had
like,
fake fatigues and like fake guns and stuff, and just like play.
You'd army crawl and everything.
Play Army stuff around the backyard. Not to mention like baseball and football and just what versions of them we could do with the few people we had. You know.
Yeah. Of course. But all right.
I used to be way more in shape when I was a kid because I would go out and play in the backyard all the time like that.
Same, dude. Same. Looking back on me as a kid, I'm just like, God, who is that skinny little shit? Oh, that's me.
I need to get into live action role playing now so I can still have an excuse to go out and be a goofus like that and lose some weight.
Fair enough. Well, y'all recommended this one on the Discord. This one is honestly one that I've been interested in watching, because I hope that she's going to talk about some interesting backyard stuff that came up with her, and I'd love to see, like, you know, compare and contrast and all that. So I guess without further ado, let's check this out. Oh, sorry, wrong one. There we go. And here we go.
Ah, the backyard. The personal wonderland of suburban kids everywhere. A place of curiosity and imagination. A minefield of anthills and lost Hot Wheels. A peaceful refuge where the greatest childhood memories are made.
She did it.
Oops.
Girls! She did it!
You called that one.
Oh, God.
Peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodle ollies, Rebecca Parham here. Backyards are great. They have grass and trees and fences. To a kid, they could be the plains of Africa, the jungles of Papua New Guinea, the great wilderness of Alaska, or the perfect place for a treehouse. Can I just go on record to say that I freaking love treehouses? I mean,
There's a chance, Nick. There's a chance.
I just have to become
look
a
at these.
treehouse.
They're mystical and woodsy and full of character.
Treehouses are dope.
I love tree houses.
I loved Myst on PC back in the day because the like the wooded like place, like it was like all tree houses, and I was like, that's so cool.
Well,
Imagine like a village built completely out of tree houses. That's so neat.
for me, I also remembered Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, when the merry men were in the woods and everything. The woodsmen.
I never saw that as a kid. So.
Yeah, they were all in trees, and they had these like awesome bridge setups and ways for them to get down. Instead of like climbing a ladder, they would like have a pulley system that had a weighted thing that you would like put your foot on and would go down. I was like, dude, that is awesome.
Oh, and I didn't get to see it until they did the remakes in theaters, but the original Star Wars trilogy, like the Ewok village, is basically a treehouse village.
Yeah. Teeny.
That's the.
Oh, that's Jawas.
That's Jawas.
Jawas.
Ewoks are.
Actually, funny enough, Jawas. That was one of the first noises Jawas ever made.
Was it?
Yeah. It was
I
after
always kind of like wondered. I was like, are Jawas actually just Ewoks and hoods?
That's the thing.
Ewoks.
I don't know.
So I thought they made similar sounds to an extent.
Yeah. Oh, TV.
From people. Look at this one. I want to live there. I want to hook it up with Wi-Fi and a sauna. I want all the local kids to call me the Witch of the Woods and tell stories about how I'll steal your toes if you get too close to my house. I want to be a ghost story. Wait, we're off topic. Backyards. A staple of suburban living. I lived in suburbia as a kid with all the trimmings. Neighborhood kids to play with, nearby woods to explore, a school I could walk to and from. And you can't forget your
Didn't get
standard
that.
issue
I didn't get that until I was around like 12 or 13.
bully that lives up the street. My bully kid was named Jocko. Jocko. Now,
Jocko
They
Willing?
said Jaden.
Jocko.
Jocko wasn't your run-of-the-mill bully kid. You know, the big thundering monsters that you stay away from at all costs, like a Canker Sister or a Flats the Flounder. No. Jocko was more like Buford from Phineas and Ferb. Still a bully, but one that got involved in the adventures, and you invited over for a game of baseball sometimes. He was a weird one for sure. One time we were over at his house in his backyard, and he needed to, release the hounds. But instead of going inside and doing his business like a normal person, he popped a squat right there in the grass and made fertile.
I was gonna say, dude, you popping out a turd biscuit in front of your friend, that ain't cool. That ain't cool.
And then his dog ate it. He also once found a lighter in our backyard and decided that he wanted to make a campfire. And my sister and I were just like,
No.
yeah, sure, sounds fun. At some point during our tomfoolery of gathering things to incinerate in our campfire, Jocko wanted to act all tough, so he pointed the lighter at me and my sister and lit it. Just so happens, at that moment, my mom looked up from doing the dishes and saw that through the kitchen window, and she ran out screaming at us. Unsurprisingly, Jocko had to go home. Glad she caught us too, because we weren't even messing around at that point. We
Yeah,
were gonna
y'all were
light
about
the
to burn the
freaking
yard
fire,
down.
give the hellfire and brimstone preacher something to talk about, if you know what I mean. Lord, save us from the unholy demons known as the Param children. Thank you, Jesus. Actually, my dad did call me a firebug sometimes when I was a kid because I tended to like fire, and still kind of do.
I do. I like fire too, man. I loved building fires as a kid. And I'm still good at it too. I'm still good at, like, whenever it came to campfires, I was good at that shit even as a kid. Like, I knew how to, like, stack the wood, get the, like, tinder in the middle, just get it lit, keep it going, and then very slowly get the bigger pieces on, and then start throwing log pieces on. Boom.
I can brag for a second about something. So in the Klondike Derby, in the Boy Scouts, you have to make a fire to cook your lunch.
Yes.
You get points based on how you make the fire. If you use a match, you get no points. If you use a flint and steel, you get 1 point. If you use
The drill. Really? They didn't get points for the drill?
It's the last thing.
Oh.
Shoot, I forgot what comes in between the flint and steel. There's another way to do it, but I think the flint and steel might have been the 2 points, maybe.
Magnifying glass, maybe?
But yeah, the bow drill was the highest point thing. And out of our troop and all the groups, me and my buddy were the only ones that managed to start a fire with a bow drill.
Dude, bow drill, like, it's easier than you think.
Not really. It is a bitch.
Well, no,
Like,
it's a bitch, but the thing is,
you have to go back and forth for so freaking long, and your arm is about to fall off.
well, it's not about going up. It's not about going back and forth. You also, like, press down on it.
Yeah,
from the
you have
top.
to press down really hard and go back and forth,
Like,
and it's difficult. It's
basically
actually like physical labor.
Basically, just.
Yeah, we were about to give up because both of our arms are on fire, but we were like, "Don't stop!" And finally, it's like it finally slipped, and as it slipped, it went poof, and like actually launched an ember into the pile, and we grabbed it real quick and got it to start. We're like, "Yes!"
Yeah.
And we actually ended up winning the Klondike Derby for our troop with the extra point, by the way. 'Cause
Well,
we
you
won
see,
by like 1
you see, the
point
key
on
that me and my cousin Josh figured out was if you work together, because. Like, we would switch and trade.
We did. Like,
we'd switch and trade. Like, Josh would be pushing down on the top, and I would be, like, activating the bow drill left and right. And then whenever my arms get tired, I would switch with him.
The technique they taught us to do it is one person holds one side of the bow, and the other person holds the other side of the bow, and so you're both making the bow go back. And forth by pulling.
Like the bandsaw.
But
the bandsaw
it's
technique.
still really freaking difficult.
No,
Like,
and you see, like, that's all, like, there's different techniques. I'm not gonna say like one technique is better than the other, But just from like me and my cousin Josh, we were there for like about 10 to 12 minutes, like going back and forth with it. And then eventually, I remembered when Josh lifted up the drill from the top, and like I had the bow in my hand, and I looked down, and he's like, Nate, grab, and then we like grabbed the dry leaves, put them on there, and then just like you saw the smoke starting to come up, and then Josh got down, and he just went,
By the way, if y'all have ever seen somebody in a cartoon do the little like this thing with the stick, doesn't work that way.
No, like the only time it works is if like there's also another thing too. You get air trapped underneath it. Basically, you dig a little hole and then you basically get air trapped underneath it, and it allows like air to flow in and thus build the fire.
Yeah, but like doing this doesn't give enough friction. It doesn't spin the stick fast enough. You have to have the bow, which like spins the stick really fast, like this way, over and over again. You know?
Yeah. Plus it's counter motion.
Helps hold it in place as well because it wants to slip really bad.
Plus it's counter motion because the bow, the drill spins one way when you go one way and it spins the other. So basically you're working with the friction to create more energy. So yeah. Anyway, enough about that. Back to this.
Hey, it's warm and pretty and gets rid of evidence. Everything you want in a boyfriend. But the big story that I remember about Jocko was the tree incident. One day, my sister and I were playing baseball with Jocko in our backyard when one of us hit the ball over the fence into the neighbor's yard. Our neighbor wasn't home and their backyard gate was locked, so Jocko came up with a bright idea. He began climbing our giant oak tree so he could swing over to the neighbor's tree, climb down, and retrieve the ball. And Rachel and I just stood there watching him climb, periodically going, "You're gonna fall! We're gonna have to call the fire department to get you down!" Which I think only strengthened his resolve to make his brilliant plan work because he just kept climbing. Now strap in for this one, explainers, it gets good. When he got close to the neighbor's tree and was about 15 feet off the ground, he grabbed a pencil-thin branch in his hands and actually tried to swing to the neighbor's tree like he was freaking Tarzan. Apparently, Jocko has never seen a Wile E. Coyote cartoon because then he would have known better. Who says cartoons rot your brain? Guess what? The branch snapped.
He got fucked up.
Yeah. Also, every time I hear that sound effect,
Who says cartoons rot your brain? Guess what? The branch snapped.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Yes.
Ah!
He broke his arm.
Jocko had not only fallen, no, he had crashed through the neighbor's wet bar, which my sources tell me is a bar or counter equipped with running water and a sink for serving alcoholic beverages in a home environment.
That was expensive, I bet, too.
And Jocko had completely obliterated this thing. It was like a dinosaur had stepped on it, just went Jocko was screaming so loud that his dad, who was working in their front yard up the street, heard it, came running, and kicked in the neighbor's gate to get to him. He ended up having a broken arm, which I'm still surprised to this day that that's all that happened.
Right? Like, I'm surprised he didn't get impaled on pieces of wood.
Yeah, or pipe, dude. Because if that has, like, plumbing pipe coming in, and any of that just, like, snaps off the wrong way, that's jagged steel or jagged PVC just going straight through you.
I mean, he wasn't going to get away with breaking nothing from that, though.
Oh, no. That's broken bone worthy right there. You see, here's the thing. If it's like a jump or a fall that you can prepare for, you're probably going to sprain something. If it's a fall that you're completely like flailing through the air and you brace yourself with your arms first, guess what's going to happen?
Your arm's going to break.
Yeah. First rule of gymnastics, whenever they like did the lifts and like the throws and everything, it's just like, use your arms, of course, but also try to keep the motion going and roll out of it to like keep yourself from like getting very badly injured. Because if you can like make that motion of you falling like into forward motion with a roll or something like that, you can save yourself a lot of damage.
From the damage that I saw to this wet bar, I'm surprised he's not dead. There should have been some fractured ribs or brain damage or something. Well, I guess if you're meant to hang, you won't drown. He also had to pay the neighbor back for the wet bar, just to add insult to injury. Rolling on with the theme of breaking things, my sister and I actually did the childhood cliche of breaking a window with a baseball. You thought that opening skit was just a witty farce, huh? No, actually
She did it!
My sister and I were in the backyard playing
Hey, I didn't know you were friends with Dan. It's Danny Sexbank.
baseball with the neighborhood kids. Big surprise there. I was pitching, she was batting, I tossed her the ball, she hit it, it veered off to the right, and crashed right through my parents' bedroom window. And everyone in that backyard except Rachel
Bolted.
hit the deck. My parents
Oh, I
came
thought they were
racing
bolt-
outside and found my sister standing there with bat in hand, completely flustered. Both of my parents were mad, but my mom told Rachel to go get her piggy bank because she was gonna pay for it. But Dad jumped in and said, "Hey, that's not fair. It was an accident. Every kid gets to break one window with a baseball."
Where's this rule that I never heard about?
Right?
Jesus. Here's the thing. I didn't break a window, but I did break the front glass on the door, on the front door. It was basically this little, you know, those little pretty fixtures. It's got like the frosted glass in it and everything. Basically, the ball just went pow against the side, and the piece of it went flying off inside the house and fell down and broke. Thankfully, my dad was able to get a replacement and like get it screwed in and everything. But here's the thing. I didn't get paid at the salvage for like 2 weeks because of that. I went to work with my dad at the salvage over the weekend, and I never got paid for those 2 weeks. So yeah, that was my punishment.
My dumb kid brain would have heard that every kid gets to break a window with a baseball once after, like, my friend broke a window. I would have been like, really? Awesome! And I would have ran inside, grabbed the baseball, found another window, and thrown it back out of that. And then they would have been pissed, like, why'd you do that? You said everybody gets to do it once.
Everybody gets one.
I wanted to do mine.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was my dad for you. He never forgot what it was like to be a kid, so he wanted the most fulfilling childhood for us.
Hey.
Including all of the
Nice.
classic mistakes, like breaking a window with a baseball. So now I gotta tell one on me. About time, I suppose. When I was about 9 and should have known better, I would sometimes pass the time in the backyard by taking an old fence post, laying it over the side of our raised garden beds, and jumping on the end of it, launching an array of different materials into the air.
Okay, I did something similar to this, except we had a seesaw. My dad actually built a seesaw for us. And what I would do is I would get rocks and stuff on the other end, and I'd get on the other end, and instead of like jumping on it, I would like grab onto it and like throw it down to see how high I could get it. And I remembered one time I did that. I usually stood back and when I threw it down. This time I didn't, and I threw it down, and the board came back up and caught me right on the tip of my chin right here and gashed me right here pretty good. And I remembered, like, my mom asked what happened and I told her, and my mom wanted to get rid of the seesaw, and my dad said no. I spent too long building that thing. We aren't getting rid of it. My dad just gave me a stern talking to. Just said, hey, don't do that again. You do that again, I'm taking it apart, and you're never gonna get you and your friends are never gonna play on it again. I'm like, okay.
Rocks, pebbles, grass, sticks, anything.
Makes me
This
think
is
of
what we did
Home
before we
Alone
had the
2.
internet, kids.
Oh, yeah.
One day I
like,
really
"Oh,
wanted to
wait,
launch a ball off of my makeshift catapult, but there was a problem. The ball would roll off of the fence post before I could launch it. Physics.
Yes.
Who knew? And in order to complete my little experiment, I needed an assistant. Oh, David!
Oh,
My little brother
no.
David was about 3 at the time
Oh,
and was very
no.
susceptible
Did
to
you destroy
suggestion,
your brother's
which
face?
worked out perfectly for me, not so perfectly for him. I told him on the count of 3 he was going to put the ball on the fence post so I could quickly jump on the other end before it rolled off. Simple enough, wouldn't you say? But when I counted to 3 to commence our experiment, he did something a little unforeseen. He leaned down.
Yep. Basically,
And held the ball in place with his face.
this
right
is
over
this is a Joey Mercury situation if I've ever seen one. You ever seen the Joey Mercury situation off WWE? Okay. real quick, this won't take too long. So, Joey Mercury was a professional, it still is a professional wrestler, I think, but he was part of this group called Eminem, like Eminem. Basically, Joey Mercury injury. Yeah. This right here, one of the most painful things I've ever seen in my entire life. So basically, this is a seesaw thing, and they were supposed to like get their hands up to defend themselves. John Morrison gets out of the way. Matt Hardy gets out of the way. Joey Mercury does not. And yeah. And Joey Mercury, well, here I'll show everyone just this little tidbit. Because this is the thing, this is WWE. WWE doesn't play around with their shit. But anyway, this happened. Joey Mercury is the one over here on the left side of Matt Hardy. BAM! And basically, Joey Mercury's face exploded. And his face just, yeah, his face is destroyed. Yeah, his nose got basically shattered from that. And not only that, this is the aftermath. Like, yeah, look at that shit. And from then on, Joey Mercury, sadly, his career was never the same after that, because that permanently changed up how he looked. Because they had to do a reconstruction on his nose, and it basically made him, like, unmarketable, according to like some higher ups.
It's lame.
It is, because Joey Mercury, like, here's the thing, you can say what you want.
An incredibly badass moment, even if it was an accident, you know?
Yeah, here's the thing that people need to understand about pro wrestlers. The guys that you see on TV, a lot of them, especially ones like Joey Mercury, are the best of the best. And they worked their ass off to get where they are. Every single one of them. I wrestle with, like, that's the thing. Every month, I get the good fortune of wrestling with some of the most amazing pro wrestlers out there. None of them have ever been on, like, national television, but you know what? That doesn't matter. Those guys are awesome. And the pain that they go through for their art is just amazing. It's amazing what they're willing to put themselves through for the sake of, like, storytelling. Also, to anyone out there who says, "Hey man, why are you into that shit? Isn't it fake?" Hey, what's your favorite TV show? You know that shit's fake, right?
Directly over the fence post to very carefully place the ball. And by the time I looked over and saw him doing that, it was too late. My entire weight came down and the fence post smacked him right in the face. Well,
Knocked
I'm
his
dead.
ass out.
I bequeath everything to my Teddy Ruxpin. David rightfully screamed at the top of his lungs and ran inside to Mom and Dad, who were not happy at all.
Aww.
David's whole face swelled
Poor
up, and there was a puncture wound on his cheek that was maybe an inch away from his eye. And he still has a scar there to this day.
Damn.
I got in a lot of trouble, and my
I don't
parents
even
yelled at
remember
me
this.
that I could have blinded him, even though it was an accident, and he wasn't supposed to put his face over the catapult.
Instructions unclear. That's the thing, is like...
But I felt really bad, to the point where I still felt bad years later into adulthood when someone would bring up this story. But now, I've animated it and shown it to 1 million people, so it holds no more power over me anymore. Animation, my antidepressant. So yeah, backyards, imagination, magic, wonder, childhood trauma, you get the idea. But seriously guys, go spend some time outside, get some sunshine and fresh air, it builds character. It's also really good for your mental health. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in, but wait a minute. Editor Becca here. I've got some things to tell you before we officially tune out. I'm gonna be at PAX South again January 18th through the 20th in San Antonio, Texas. I'll just be walking around, so come up and say hi. I'm also gonna be a featured creator at VidCon London, February 14th through the 17th. Really excited about that one. It's gonna be my first time in Europe, and they have me doing a lot of cool stuff for the convention, so I hope you can make it. Also, for those of you who like my singing, I recently did a cover of How Far I'll Go from Moana with Jordan Sweeto and a rock cover of Defying Gravity with Caleb Hiles. It was so much fun to sing those songs. I never get a chance to really sing on this channel, so I gotta sing on other people's channels, I guess. I'll put the links in the description below. Please go check them out. Anyways, I think that's it, explainers and entertainers. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now I gotta tune out. Bye!
Well, there we go. All right. So, those are some very interesting stories. And hopefully you were entertained by those stories, and hopefully you were sort of kind of entertained about our stories and everything. I mean, overall, this kind of stuff, I love hearing about this kind of stuff. So, anywho, I guess there isn't really much for us to cover because we basically added over 20 minutes to this damn video. So, everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I guess till next time, signing off. I am Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. Take care. Peace.